Well, howdy. It's just about time for our story to recommence. And we're going to start with chapter 13, entitled Consistency. Mrs. Morton says I can have some apple cider if I'm a good boy. Chapter 13, Consistency. Well, what are you going to do? Uncle Jake asked. I knew he was going to ask me that. Today was the last day for sign up for the jiu-jitsu tournament, and Uncle Jake wasn't going to forget it. Part of me had thought that if I just ignored it and didn't say anything, then maybe by the time Uncle Jake had remembered the tournament, it would be too late to sign up. I should have known better. Because it was the first thing Uncle Jake asked me about this morning. But it was fine. I'd been thinking about what Uncle Jake told me. I was afraid of losing, but Uncle Jake told me that being afraid of losing is okay. And even if I do lose, I would learn. But I was still nervous about it. Can I tell you at the end of a jiu-jitsu class tonight? Well, you're going to have to, because today is the last day to sign up for the tournament, Uncle Jake said. Okay, I will. When I got to jiu-jitsu class, we warmed up, worked on some new moves, and then did some training. In between drills, I talked to Nora. She's a year younger than me and is a lot smaller than I am. But she is really good at jiu-jitsu. She's been doing it for a long time, and she does all kinds of competitions. She asked me if I was going to enter the tournament. Are you doing it? I asked her. Of course I am, she said, without any hesitation at all. It was kind of amazing. Here was Nora, younger than me and smaller than me, and yet she wasn't afraid at all. Are you? She asked again. Well, I'm thinking about it. Thinking about it? What's there to think about? She said. Well, training and, preparation, that kind of stuff. Training and preparation? What do you think we do in here every day? Every time we train, we're preparing to compete. She did have a good point there. Finally, I got up the courage to ask her if she was scared. Only I didn't use the word scared. I used the word nervous. I think I was scared to use the word scared. Are you nervous? Of course I get a little nervous, said Nora. But we do jiu-jitsu all the time. So there isn't too much to get nervous about. It's like training, only everyone tries really hard. But other than that, it's just jiu-jitsu. There isn't anything to be nervous about. What about losing? Don't you get nervous that you might lose? Might lose? I've lost plenty of times. What about all those medals and trophies you've won, I asked. There were pictures all over the academy of Nora with trophies and medals. She said, sure, I won those times. But there have been plenty of times when I lost, too. I don't have pictures of those times, but I have lost more than I have won, especially when I first started competing. And you don't mind losing? I don't like it, but I don't mind it either. I know that if I don't compete, I can never win. That is really losing. Here was a 5th grade girl telling me almost the exact same thing as Uncle Jake. That's it. I was going to compete. That's what I think too, I told her, wanting to sound a little tougher than I was. That's why I'm going to do this tournament. Awesome, she said. It'll be fun. After that, I trained really hard for the rest of the class. Really hard. Every time I sparred someone, I imagined competing in the tournament at the end of the summer. I tried not to give up any positions, and I tried to get everyone I trained with to tap out. By the end of class, I was sweating pretty hard. Uncle Jake came to pick me up from class. "Well," he said. "Yes, Uncle Jake, I'm going to compete." As soon as I said these words, I felt kind of different. I felt nervous, but at the same time, I felt kind of good. "That's what I like to hear," Uncle Jake told me. "You'll get a lot out of it. You'll see." When we got home, Uncle Jake came out to the garage with me and helped me do some work on my old rusty bike. Actually, the bike wasn't all that rusty anymore. The rims looked great, the handlebars were done, and the frame was about halfway cleaned up. "It's starting to look pretty good, isn't it, Mark?" Uncle Jake asked me. "It is. I never thought it could look like this again. And it doesn't seem like it's taken that much time. That's the way it's supposed to feel. But if you think about it, you've probably worked on this bike for 20 hours. You think so?" "I know so. You've been working on it for over a month, for a half hour to an hour at a time. So yeah, it's been at least 20 hours of work so far." "Doesn't feel like that much," Uncle told Uncle Jake. "That's because you broke it down and maintained consistency." "Maintained what?" I asked. "Consistency. You see, instead of trying to do this whole big project at one time, you just put in a little work here and there, chipping away at it. That way it didn't feel like a ton of work. And yet, you look up now and you can see all the progress you have made." "Yeah, it really hasn't seemed like too much. Even there were some nights when I didn't want to do it." "You didn't want to, but you did. That makes the difference. That's discipline. You know, that's what I did in college this year. When I would get a big assignment, I would work on it a little bit each day, just for an hour or so. In a week, I had done 7 hours. In 2 weeks, I was just about done and had time to review and revise my work. Some of the other students wouldn't start their assignments until a couple of days before they were due. Then they'd be scrambling around to get them done and wouldn't be able to turn in their best work. They would have to work 15 hours straight on one thing, which can get boring. So that is what you do whenever you can. You break down big projects into small chunks and then work on them a little bit each day. It's like cleaning my room too." "Really?" "Yes, if I clean my room every day, it only takes a few minutes each time. But when I don't clean it for a week, all of a sudden it takes an hour to clean. Boy, do I know that." "Exactly. Now you'll have to remember that there will be times when you don't have a choice. Sometimes you just have to focus and work on something for a long time. Like if you get a project late or something unexpected happens. One time when I was on a trip, my water heater broke, flooded my apartment, ruined the floor. When I got home, I had to pull the old floor out and put a new one in, all before my next trip. I worked 36 straight hours to get that done. So even though a warrior likes to plan things out and break them down into small pieces, you don't always get that option. But I have the option. I should plan, break it down into pieces, and do it in small chunks, right?" "Exactly. Now let's get some dinner," Uncle Jake said. "Okay." "Malt shop?" he asked, knowing I would definitely want to go to my favorite restaurant. "Yes," I said, immediately thinking of some food. Okay, well, with this pending trip to the malt shop, I think we will call this a day, okay? You guys have a good evening, and I will see you later on.